Hello and welcome to season 3 of the Second Take podcast. Me and my co-host Marco Rogers are very excited to be back at it for football season. I mean, personally, Marco, there's not a greater time of the year, is there?
No, I'm so happy to be here just talking about football and all that. It's a great time for...
Yeah, we love making this podcast. We love football season. So what better to do? Bring back season 3, Second Take podcast. But as we know, you guys are not here to listen to us banter about how much we love football. So let's get straight into it. We're going to start with the NFL, move on to college football because college football is the best. Let's get into it. So, just for a little while, we're going to start with a preview of the NFL season. We're at week 0 right now. So, not many games to predict except for preseason, which you guys don't care about. So, we'll just be previewing the season a little bit and we'll go from there. All right, Marco, start us off.
So first we're just going to talk about teams that we expect to make a jump in this upcoming NFL season. So my team that I expect to make a jump is the New Orleans Saints. They went 9-8 last year. They just missed the playoffs. They were just on the edge. I think this could be a top 5 team in the NFC. Jameis Winston, Michael Thomas, obviously coming back. They picked up a new head coach, Dennis Allen, after Sean Payton left. And, he's gotten positive feedback. You got Tyrann Mathieu coming in. He's one of the best safeties in the league. Pretty much everyone else, you kept them on defense. So I think this defense is going to be elite, probably a top 7 defense in the NFL. And offense...
Yeah, Honey Badger being back is just huge.
Yeah, he's going to be great for them. And offense, which was really the question for them last year, obviously Jameis Winston tore his ACL. They get him back. Michael Thomas has been injured the last 2 years. They get him back. Last time he was healthy, he was one of the best receivers of all time in that one season. They add Jarvis Landry, a great receiver, and obviously the promising rookie, Chris Olave out of Ohio State. Jameis Winston's got a lot of targets to throw to. And Alvin Kamara will probably not get suspended after what he did in Vegas. And then they do have a pretty solid O-line. Obviously, they lose a couple of players, but obviously having to start Trevor Penning, the rookie left tackle, is not what you want. But, I think this offense should be a very solid offense. And, as long as Jameis Winston obviously does not throw 30 interceptions, they should be fine. I think if this team beats Tom Brady like they have in the past few years, this could be the team that finishes first in the NFC South.
Yeah, definitely an interesting take. Obviously, with Winston at QB, you just always have that threat of he's either going to play like he did in college where he's like the next big thing, or he's going to throw 3 picks and you're going to lose by 28. So, it's been a very bipolar team in the past. They just need some consistency this year. They need Michael Thomas to stay healthy the whole year. They need to have that consistent target. But I think also the addition of Olave will be absolutely huge because
so your breakout team, Cal?
Yeah, so I'm going with the Dolphins. In the offseason, they added Tyreek Hill, which was huge. Give a couple guys to the Chiefs. And then also a lot of people are expecting Tua to make a big jump this season. And if that can happen, I think... So the Dolphins had a 9-8 record last year. I think they could make anywhere from a 2 to a 4 game improvement if Tua can have that season that people are saying he will. And then the other thing about the Dolphins is many people have been saying that, oh yeah, they have Tyreek, they have Jalen Waddle, they have Tua who might have a good season, but they don't have any defense. And I just simply don't agree with that. They were able to re-sign many of their big players. The defensive back, Xavier Howard, one of the best in the league, Emmanuel Ogbah coming off the edge, and Javon Holland at safety, who had a very promising rookie campaign last year. If he can, he showed some good sparks last year. If he can become that safety that can just completely lock down anyone he wants, that's huge, because they've been lacking at that safety position. So if Holland can get there, I think this Dolphins team could make a huge improvement.
Yeah, I'm most interested to see what the offense does this year, because if you remember last year, it was just a bunch of slants, RPOs, a bunch of stuff to make Tua comfortable. But with Tyreek Hill, Tua entering his third season.
Yeah, do you think he's going to try to step out of his comfort zone?
Yeah, I think you have to make some big plays. You got Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, two of the best deep threat receivers in the NFL, probably.
The fastest receivers in the NFL for sure.
Yeah, he's got Mike Gesicki. He has all the weapons. There's no reason why they should keep on throwing all these checkdowns when, he supposedly has an impressive arm that can throw the ball 50, 60 yards downfield. So I'm very intrigued to see what they do with this offense this year.
Yeah, it'll for sure be interesting. Moving on, we're going to talk about some breakout players. I think I'm going to go first. I have the Bears' number one receiver. Bears fans are comparing him to Randy Moss. You know him. You love him. Darnell Mooney. He'll be the wide receiver one for the Bears this year. With Justin Fields at QB, he's not a terrible QB by any means. He has some very good potential, mobility. But the thing is, the Bears just didn't draft O-linemen this year. They don't have any O-linemen. They didn't draft him, so I'm not really sure where the general managing position is right now, if they have one at all, if he's in a coma or not. But if Justin Fields is able to get enough time, Darnell Mooney is one of the most potentially exciting players in this league. Great hands, speed, great route running. He's just a phenomenal all-round receiver, and he's very young, which is another plus.
Yeah, I think if you put him in a similar situation to Justin Jefferson, he would probably be pretty similar. He has the route running, the speed, he has all of that. He's going to be a great player. My breakout player is Brandon Ayuk on the San Francisco 49ers. So far, he's shown great chemistry with Trey Lance last year and so far in preseason. If you just watch him play, he's one of the most athletic and exciting players in the NFL. And, obviously they do have Deebo Samuel, but he's been playing running back. He's had some contract issues. He could have some problems this year. So I think Ayuk gets a lot of targets. They get him out in space. That he's just so electric. I'm excited to see what he does this year.
Definitely going to be an exciting week. Exciting first couple of weeks. Just to see how these young guys shape out. Obviously, Deebo Samuel and that 49ers team is going to take a lot of Ayuk's targets. Deebo is getting one of the highest usage rates, actually the highest usage rate in the NFL. So Ayuk is definitely going to have to earn his touches, but when he does, I think he has potential to make a lot of plays.
Yep. Moving on to college. Now we're just
college football. Let's go.
First
Michigan football.
Okay.
I got it, Marco. You're going to start it, but we're talking about Michigan football. Every single position group, why you should be excited about this year. There is nothing not to like about this team. From linebackers all the way to the QB battle, we have an exciting team this year. Marco's going to start us off with the linebackers. Marco, what do we have to be excited about with the linebackers this year?
Obviously, we lost Josh Ross. He was our team leader defensively. He really kept this defense together. But I'm not sure how big a step back this linebacker group is really going to take. Junior Colson is going to be a lot better in his sophomore year. He obviously struggled a little bit in his freshman year. But
also, football IQ was always an issue with freshmen, but he definitely has the physical potential.
Yeah, he's athletically gifted enough to be one of the better linebackers in the Big Ten. It just is going to come down to how much he really improved over the offseason in terms of IQ. We still have Nakai Hill-Green. He'll be returning. He'll be a very solid player. And fifth-year senior Michael Barrett, obviously he played Viper back when we had Don Brown. He'll be a solid bench piece. He can come on, be a nice, older player to keep this crew together. And,
Michael Barrett will be predominantly special teams, but I think he could get some minutes even at safety, not just linebacker.
Yeah, he has put on quite a bit of weight since a couple of years ago when he played Viper. But yeah, he should be solid. And last year this linebacker crew was great. Without Josh Ross, they won't be as good, but I still think they'll be very solid and one of the better linebacker crews in the Big Ten.
Most definitely. All right, next, the defensive backs. I would say probably the weakest point of our team last year by far. But this year, with the addition of the number one cornerback in the class, Will Johnson, 5-star, I think it could be a really exciting secondary. We have Will Johnson, Mike Sanders still making the switch from wide receiver to defensive back. He'll still get some snaps at receiver, but he will be predominantly a DB. And we also have a couple more freshmen coming in Keon Sabb and Zeke Berry, who won't get as much time as Johnson as a freshman, but I still think they can give us some solid minutes. But the main reason I'm excited about this secondary is that DJ Turner was taking all of the man-to-man responsibilities last year on his own. He's really our only formidable man-to-man defensive back. Will Johnson this year he'll completely take some weight off of DJ Turner's shoulders. And then Mike Sanders, so we'll see how he does. He was highly recruited as a DB, and I think that he'll be super solid. He'll be a great slot corner.
Yeah, also with safeties, we obviously have RJ Moten. He'll take a jump from last year, even though he was solid last year. And Rod Moore, also another very solid safety. He'll probably just be our starting free safety. He'll be solid. So, yeah, I'm excited to see this defensive back crew.
I just think it's going to be nice to not get absolutely toasted with gray and green on the field. It's actually hard to watch when they're on the field.
Yeah, Gray left, but Green will probably still be getting a decent amount of minutes. Hopefully he'll be better than last year. But yeah.
Yeah, he just needs to not run a 4.8 40. It's absurd.
Yeah, he is a little less athletic than most of the people he's guarding.
A little bit.
Next up, we're gonna be talking about obviously the strong point of the entire team last year, the best edge rushers in college football with Aiden Hutchinson and David Ojabo. Obviously, they're going to the NFL, so that's gonna obviously be the biggest hole to fill this year. The defense completely relied on the pressure from those two last year. So to talk about our edge rushers this year, Mike Morris, he was solid last year when he played. Obviously, he's a solid player. He will probably be our number one edge rusher, which isn't great, but he should get some pressure. Obviously, the 5-star transfer from UT Martin, Iabi Anoma, he was originally committed to Alabama, former 5-star. He had some mental problems, ended up going in and out, and eventually found himself at UT Martin, where he had a solid season. Not what you'd expect from a 5-star, but he's still athletic as
he wasn't bad by any means, but he's just with his athletic ability, you'd think playing at an FCS school, you would literally get 15 sacks a game.
Yeah, but he's athletic as hell. He'll still be athletic enough to beat any tackle in the Big Ten. The question is, can he stay on the field with his mental issues, and does he have the physical aspects like strength to really be able to beat Big Ten tackles? That's going to be tough for him. But obviously, Derek Moore coming in this year, he was one of the, I believe he was a top 50 recruit. Maybe he can be our second edge rusher this year if he's good enough as a freshman. It's going to be tough for him. But I mean, he was a very highly recruited guy, so I think he could be our second edge rusher. So yeah, I'm excited to see if it will be Iabi Anoma or Derek Moore as that second edge rusher. I mean, we have some other guys, but I think those two will probably fight for the second spot.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's going to be interesting. Not quite as interesting as the QB battle, which we'll talk about later, but definitely a position battle there for sure. We'll see what happens. Next, I mean, we have our offensive line. Joe Moore winners last year. I honestly think they're gonna be even better this year. Obviously, losing Hassan Haskins running in the backfield is tough to make the O-line look good, but also, I mean, the O-line was just phenomenal last year. The only two starters that actually left last year, who both gave us phenomenal blocking, were Vastardis and Stuber. Vastardis being our center, Stuber being our right tackle. They both just gave us great minutes every single game. But we actually are getting an All-American grad chance to fill in for Vastardis, which is absolutely huge. Olu Victor Oluwademi. He's going to be super fun to watch, just being a field general. Hopefully he can gel with our quarterbacks, with our team, just be able to be that field general that Vastardis was. And then for filling in for Stuber, who wasn't quite as dominant as Vastardis, but still a great player, we have Trent Jones. And to be honest, Trent Jones, I think he's going to be solid, but we also have we have very large depth at the O-line position, at all of the O-line positions. So we'll see how that ends up. But for now, it'll definitely be Trent Jones starting at right tackle. And personally, I think it's going to be an even more elite O-line than last year. I'm very excited to watch them play.
Yeah, I mean, Trent Jones will probably be the weak point of this O-line, but I think he'll be good enough. He can hold his own. I think this O-line is just going to be incredible again. They'll give Corum and Donovan Edwards great holes to run through.
You already know.
And now, talking about our threats catching the ball, Ronnie Bell is back. It's so big for our offense.
Ronnie Bell, I mean,
you. He could very easily receive for over 1,000 yards this year. Last time he was on the field, he was, a couple years ago, he was one of our better receivers. Obviously, he was our wide receiver 3, I believe, with Peoples-Jones and Nico Collins. But, at the beginning of last year in the half that he played, he was a beast. He had
in the 0.5 games.
He was a beast. He had like a 70-yard touchdown catch. He was very solid. He looked like he could have been one of the better receivers in college football. Now he's officially back. He's healthy. He'll be great to watch. One of the best receivers in college football. Cornelius Johnson had to fill in as that wide receiver 1 for him last year. Now being guarded as a second corner could be a little bit easier for him. He was very solid last year, should be even better this year. Angelo Anthony, the 3-star freshman last year,
he moves his legs faster than anybody I've ever seen. It's actually insane.
Yeah, last year we weren't expecting too much from him, but he really stepped up. He was a great player. That Michigan State game, he played great.
I didn't even know who he was until the Michigan State game. I'm not going to lie to you.
The second half of the year, he was our wide receiver too. He was great. And obviously, AJ Henning and Roman Wilson, 2 absolute speedsters at the slot. They'll both be very good targets. Roman Wilson, a bit more of an actual receiver. Henning, we'll get him involved with some jet sweeps, some stuff like that. And
we even have Sandra still also, who won't be playing as much receiver, but he'll still get some minutes, which will be a good just threat.
Yeah, and obviously Eric All, people are saying he could be one of the best tight ends in college football. Probably the best blocking tight end in college football. He is so good at blocking. He's O-lineman level, but with a 6'5" and very good at running.
Eric All is just a phenomenal blocker in both the passing and running game. Great. Just a great guy to have on your team. Great team player. And he also has the hands to play tight end. So he's definitely a high upside tight end right there.
Yeah, and then obviously Luke Schoonmaker. He was a tight end too last year. I mean, he was a great tight end too. I mean, he had plenty of nice catches in big situations. He'll be solid. And the two fresh.
He did make a surprising amount of big plays, especially at the end of the season. He would always be our conversion on third down for some reason. No one was watching him just slip out the backfield, make a play. So
yeah, and then the two freshmen, Darius Clemens and Tyler Morris, both just freaky athletic guys. They could see some time in like screen passes, jet sweeps, just get the ball in Darius Clemens' hands. I want to see what he can do.
Yeah, I mean, he had a phenomenal play during the spring game, and it's going to be super exciting to watch that dude play.
Yeah, so now to talk about the running backs.
Yeah, so I mean, there's no doubt that losing Hassan Haskins hurts. It just does. I mean, he was one of the most dominant college football running backs that we've seen at Michigan in a while. But we do have Blake Corum coming back, and he was the other half of that Thunder and Lightning duo. So that is very exciting. And then the addition of Donovan Edwards a couple years ago is just absolutely huge. His receiving upside is probably the best from a running back that you'll see in all of college football. And he's a great runner. I mean, he's shifty. He shoots through gaps. Like, I just love the way he plays. He has the running back build. He makes plays in the passing game. He's just a very exciting guy to watch. I have a feeling we're going to be although we didn't run a lot of two running back sets last year, we do have a lot of different coaches, so I could see both Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards playing at the same time. Keep that passing, running, like, I just think it's a super fun group to watch, and it's going to be a great season.
Yeah, I mean, Corum himself is also a great receiving back, but it's going to be exciting to have.
Oh, yeah, don't get me wrong, but Edwards just was making insane plays in the passing game last year.
It could very easily be the best RB duo in college football for the second season in a row. Now, the most intriguing part of Michigan football this year, it's going to be exciting to watch the QB battle between, obviously, Cade McNamara and J.J. McCarthy. I think it's pretty clear that Cade will start week one. I mean, he led us to the playoffs last year, and the people who have been watching the practices have been saying that Cade looks even better than last year. He's making better throws, better deep balls, and he just looks even better than last year, which would be insane since he was very solid last year. On the other hand, I think JJ does bring a much higher ceiling to this offense. He has the mobility and arm talent that Cade he doesn't have. But he does. He's shown signs of struggling in key situations. Obviously, the Michigan State game, he fumbled the ball. He's made a couple of questionable throws that worked, but I'm not sure how often they'll work. Like rolling out to his right, throwing it 30 yards downfield to his left, that could get picked off 8 times out of 10. In the end, I think Cade, he's the much safer option, but I think I'm excited just to see JJ for the plays that he does play. He'll just bring this offense to a whole nother level. He'll make us more explosive. I'm not sure if he'll become the starter this year or when he'll become the starter this year, but I mean, I'm just excited to see how the QB battle plays out.
To be honest, I think it's more of a matter of when he will become the starter this year. I just think Cade last year, he got the job done, led us to the college football playoff, but that was only because we had one of the best defenses in college football. All he had to do was not turn the ball over, and that's simply not going to slide this year. I mean, we're going to need touchdowns this year, and that's just a fact. Cade would keep the ball in our hands and not let them get good field position last year. But we were winning games with 20, 25 points, which simply isn't going to cut it when we play those higher end teams. Michigan State, Iowa, Penn State, Ohio State especially. So I think it's more of a matter of when JJ will become
I'm also
starter.
excited to see those people who have said Cade has improved from last year. I mean, maybe he has improved a lot. Maybe he can also bring this offense to another level. But I think obviously JJ is the more exciting player. Cade is going to start week one, but I'm not. It's just going to be exciting to see how that plays out.
Yeah, and you never know. I mean, the offseason's a long time. Cade could have made improvements to his game. He could have added 30 yards to his deep ball. You just don't know until you see these guys get out on the field week 1 and start slinging the rock. So, I mean, we'll see how it goes, but it's going to be super exciting to watch. That is 100% true.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on. So next we're just going to sort of do some sort of an extension of the college football playoff, or not college football, college football segment, which was basically just Michigan. We're just gonna talk about a couple breakout players that we think are gonna, a couple breakout players, and then a couple players that we think have a possibility to make a little dark horse Heisman run this year. I'm gonna start it out. You know him, you love him. We talk about him, we love him. Ronnie Bell. He was injured last year in the first game of the season. He just has one of the biggest upsides in all of college football. That frame he has, his hands are phenomenal. I just hope he can pick up where he left off from last year. I don't have much more to say about him. I just think with not only that, but also with all of the targets we have, he's going to be in one-on-one coverage a lot. He'll be able to.
He's just so good at getting open. He has great hands. He'll be a great player for Michigan.
Well, yeah, and just that one-on-one coverage is, like, just having that many targets is so crucial, because, like, if he's one-on-one in the open field and we have a Cade McNamara who can make a deep ball throw, that's just going to be a super exciting player to watch.
Yeah. Although I do not want to say it, I have Marvin Harrison Jr., the wide receiver for Ohio State, as my breakout player. I mean, he was the wide receiver 4 last year for Ohio State, did not see much playing time, but with Olave and Wilson obviously leaving, he will probably make the jump to wide receiver 2. He showed a ton of promise in that Rose Bowl against Utah. He had 3 touchdowns, just incredible red zone catchability, and I mean, again this year,
catchability is not a word.
You'll also see a lot of red zone
catchability.
You'll see a lot of red zone targets this year for CJ Stroud. I mean, he's 6'4", and he just has a great ability to catch jump balls. I mean, he'll be great. The son of the NFL all-time great receiver, Marvin Harrison. I'm just excited to see him this year, but not against Michigan, obviously.
Yeah, of course. You never want to see any Ohio State players doing well, but I agree with you. Losing those 2 big targets in Olave and Wilson, the only guys behind right now is Jackson Smith and Jigba, and not having to go against that cornerback 1 is going to be huge. Crazy frame. He's going to be one-on-one with this with his 6'4" frame, and that's just jump ball city right there with CJ Stroud. So that's going to be very exciting for Ohio State fans, but not for Michigan fans.
Yeah, so now we're going to talk about Heisman dark horses. Obviously, CJ Stroud and Bryce Young, the 2 clear front runners. But outside of those 2, it's going to be interesting to see who else can make a run. So I'll start us off. I'm going to say Deuce Vaughn out of Kansas State, the running back. He'll be the best player on an offense that could be elite this year. I mean, he rushed for over 120 yards in each of his last 6 games last year, which is just insane. I mean, he has the same O-line as last year. They still have a great receiving core. Kansas State's offense is going to be great, and he'll be the best player on that offense. I think he could average over 120 yards a game, and I would not be surprised. He could very easily be in New York when it's Heisman time.
Yeah, I mean, that is definitely an exciting player. Not to mention Kansas State is setting up for a very big season this year. So that will be very interesting to watch him try to carry that team a little bit. I'm going to talk about Will Anderson, the Alabama linebacker. Obviously, defensive players, they don't very commonly win the Heisman Trophy. But this dude was crazy last year. I mean, he was flying out of nowhere. I mean, he was one of the top linebackers in college football behind Nakobe Dean last year. And he was 5th in Heisman voting also. And he might have been above Nakobe Dean even. And him just returning to Alabama this year, he's going to be a real problem. I mean, he's just a phenomenal pass rusher, and Like, there's no lineman that can stop him, and that's just the facts.
Yeah, I mean, obviously led college football with 17 and a half sacks last year, which is just absurd. I mean, he'll be incredible this year. In my opinion, he's one of the best pass rushers I've seen in recent history of college football in terms of just getting the quarterback as fast as possible. So
yeah, I mean, he's just fast. Like, that's the point. Facts. He's just fast.
So our last Heisman dark horse candidate, my yearly breakout player last year, Bijan Robinson, the running back from Texas. Last year, as I predicted, he had a breakout year. And this year, he's going to be a part of one of the most explosive offensive teams in college football in Texas. Their defense is going to suck, but their offense will be great. Obviously, Quinn Ewers at quarterback. And I think Quinn Ewers obviously being a very inexperienced QB, even though he has very high potential. I think they're just going to try to get the ball into his hands, whether it's screen passes, running routes, running the ball. They're just going to try to put the ball in his hands, let him go to work. And
yeah, I mean, when you have a young QB like that, you need to have that senior running back that can just give your quarterback confidence. Because like once you get the run game going, once you get those short checkdowns going to the running backs, that's when your young QB really starts to notice like, oh, I got this a little bit. Starts throwing a little deep, and when the quarterback starts throwing deep again, that just opens up even more holes for the running back. So I really think that these guys could complement each other really nicely.
Yeah, I think he'll be easily the best running back in college football this year.
Yeah, I mean, even potential Heisman candidate for sure.
Yeah. Oh, and next up, we're going to talk about teams, as we talked about in the NFL, teams that will probably break out this year. They could be New Year's Six dark horses. Cal, why don't you start?
I got first. All right. So, NC State. I mean, they always have a pretty weak schedule. But they also play Clemson as their rival, so you got to keep them in mind. And honestly, the reason I'm saying that they're one of the breakout teams is just because, I mean, one, their weak schedule, and two, they just had they had a couple close games last year, but mainly just there were sparks of some really good things. And I think they just could have a really solid season.
Yeah, I would say they kept a lot of players. And
just that like seniority being there this year is going to be big.
I mean, they beat Clemson last year, and maybe they can do it again this year.
Clemson kind of sucked last year, though. I'm not going to lie to you.
My breakout team, we already talked about them a little with Deuce Vaughn, is Kansas State. I mean, anything can happen in the Big 12 with no defense and all offense. They have pulled up lots of upsets in the past few years, but they haven't really been a good team. They just beat Oklahoma once in a while. But Oklahoma, obviously on a big decline, losing a lot of players, losing Lincoln Riley. Oklahoma State isn't going to be as good as last year. Baylor's losing a lot of guys as well. I mean, the Big 12 is up for grabs. I don't think Texas is going to be good. I think the Big 12 is up for grabs, and obviously Deuce Vaughn is their running back, one of the best running backs in college football. The Nebraska transfer, Adrian Martinez, I mean, he was solid. He showed flashes of being elite last year at Nebraska. Obviously, he made a few crucial mistakes, but I mean, I think he
did cost Nebraska a lot of close games, I'm not going to lie to you. But I mean, people can always learn.
Yeah,
you never know.
He'll have a better receiving core than last year, better O-line, much better running back, and he's playing against some of the worst.
And a lot worse teams.
Yeah, he's playing in some of the worst defenses in all of college football. So I think this team, they could dominate the bad teams, maybe pull off an upset or two against Oklahoma and Baylor, Oklahoma State. I think this is a team that could make a push for the Big 12 championship. I'm not going to say they will, but they could.
Yeah, I mean, you never know with these things, but it's just college football season. You never know, but it's always fun to watch. All right, I think that's all we have for today, unless you have anything else, Marco.
Nope.
All right. Thank you for tuning in to the first episode of Season 3 of the Second Take podcast. We had a ton of fun making this. If you have any suggestions, please let us know. And we will see you next Wednesday. Peace out.
Yep. Bye.